welcome to Counsel of the Day with Shanrae, and I am Shanrae. And welcome to the third quarter. Excuse me, I have this fur baby here, and he is every time I come on, he is cutting up. But welcome to quarter number 3 of Counsel of the Day with Shanrae. I will be on all month long, August, on every Tuesday and Thursday night of the month. And this month we actually have 5 weeks. So we're going to go on and get started because this is a 30-minute platform. Give me one moment, please. Give me one moment. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Lay down. Lay down. Lay down. Lay down. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Oh, he's actually 10 months now. And he is still a baby, but he's something else. All right. So we're going to go on and we're going to get started with our website disclaimer. Before I start anything, I'm going to do this. Let me magnify this briefly. And, I didn't mean it. Yep, there we go. And then here we go. All right. So please be aware that due to the nature of the technology that I'm using, there can be no assurance of confidentiality when using this online service. Should also be noted that due to changes in policies, that all replies are to be used as advisory and informational only and will not constitute an official determination. Information provided by myself are subject to the limitations of current and available material. Material. But the final responsibility for successfully achieving a goal rests with you, the client. Information online is designed to be helpful. However, this information does change frequently, and it is recommended that you will consult another physician, another specialist, or a religious leader to aid you in your overall behavioral wellness. All right, so that's out of the way. All right, so I am a degree counselor. I acquired a dual degree from Ashford University. My first degree is in psychology. My second degree is in organizational management. And my great passion is bringing healing to people who have been through traumatic or stressful experiences. And so when human beings experience trauma or severe life stressors, it's not common for their lives to seem like it's unraveling. I help clients who include children, adults, and families to find healthy perceptions of themselves and to help them strengthen their relationships so that they can know themselves as peaceful, complete, whole, and safe. Now, this is my passion. Counsel, anyone knows anything about counsel is very expensive. But this is my give back. I do this 4 times a year. I do it every 3 months. It's every 3 months I do it. The last time I was on was in May of 2023. And I take a whole month and I talk about a specific topic or a disorder. Mostly they're disorders that I do talk about and give strategies for those people that may have experienced this in their life, are experiencing it, or know someone who's experiencing these things. So let me move on I am a Christian counselor. I'm a Christian counselor. So the scripture that I chose for this month is Ephesians 4:23. And I chose to take the NIV version, and it says to be made new in the attitude of your mind. Okay, to be made new in the attitude of your mind. So let's move on to our key points for this evening. Let me magnify it really quickly. All right, and I'll go back. All right, so tonight I'm going to be talking about the breakdown of hyperfocus disorder. That's what I'm talking about this month. Hyperfocus disorder. The second key point is hyperfocus a coping mechanism? The third key point are, what are the negative effects of hyperfocus disorder? And the fourth key point is what to do when you feel like you're stuck in hyperfocus disorder. So let's go on and get started. Y'all know I like to break things down. Let me open this very briefly. Okay, and I'm going to go back. Let's talk about the definition of hyperfocus disorder. And yes, this is a real thing, okay? So hyperfocus is a highly focused attention that lasts a very long time. Okay, you concentrate on something so hard that you lose track of everything else that is going on around you. Doctors often see hyperfocus in people who have ADD or ADHD, but it is not an official symptom of ADD or ADHD. All right. So yes, hyperfocus, it is a disorder. All right. So let's go on. Let's start answering some questions because tonight is just about really breaking this down about hyperfocus disorder. So what is the opposite? The opposite of hyperfocus disorder. The opposite is hypofocus. So let me spell that. It's HYPOFOCUS, and this means that it has the person has limited or a low concentration, and it's the opposite of hyperfocus, was we said. So the prefix is hypo, which means under or deficient. And you can remember this by thinking that hypofocus means under focus. Hyper focus means over focus. Okay. So let's move on to our very next question and let's break this down. Yes, again, I'm going to keep saying, yes, this is a disorder, and it's a very common disorder, hyperfocus disorder. Again, we just went over hypofocus, which is the under. It's the under concentration or low concentration issue. Again, this is an open platform. And if you have any questions that you would like to ask, I will pause and I will give highlight to your question. And then I will answer it. And if I don't quite know the answer, then what I'll do is I will look it up and I'll get back to you at a later time. Or if you don't mind sharing a life scenario, I will pause and I will give highlight to that as well. Let's move on to question number 2. What does it mean to be hyper-focused? Okay, and I'm going to keep defining it because sometimes people are not made aware of disorders or deficiencies until it is brought to their attention. So, hyperfocus, broadly and anecdotally speaking, is a phenomenon that reflects one's complete absorption in a task to a point where a person appears to be completely ignoring you or it's completely tuning you out, or tuning everything else out. And it is generally reported to occur when a person is engaged in an activity that is particularly fun or interesting to them. So a lot of us have experienced, and we even know, and maybe some of us have even done, we know how to totally ignore somebody. But that totally ignoring someone and hyper-focus disorder are two separate things. Because you can totally ignore somebody, but if something distracting happens around you when you're doing this, it will still get your attention. Hyper-focus disorder, it doesn't matter what's going on around the person. They're not going to be distracted. They're just going to be focused completely on that one thing. All right, so let's move this along. Okay, let me give you an example of hyperfocus, and I'm going to open this a little bit, and then I'm going to close it back. So why am I talking about this disorder on this month? Again, to bring awareness about this disorder. It is a disorder that can be corrected. Some people may not, if they experience this at some point in their life, they may not understand what is going on. And so this is why I chose this topic this month to highlight, to bring awareness. There are some people that may realize that this is something that they're experiencing, but don't know how to get the help that they need. All right. So an example of hyperfocus is when a child becomes, this is an example, when a child is engrossed in a video game to the point where they don't hear their parents calling their name. And although most neurotypical people would likely report experience a hyperfocus-like moment or state at some point in their life, it is most often mentioned in the context of autism. So you see autism, people with Asperger's, people with autism, people with schizophrenia, people with attention deficit disorder, or hyperactivity disorder. Conditions like that have consequences on attention abilities. So despite the experience of hyperfocus being very ubiquitous in both neurotypical and psychiatric populations, there is very, very limited explicit academic research there into its effect on cognitive and neural functioning. Okay, so what this is saying is that they haven't yet found that someone who's experiencing hyper focus disorder, they haven't have any findings saying that it affects someone's cognition, or their neural, your neuron system. All right, so let's move on to answering some more questions about hyper focus disorder. What are symptoms of hyperfocus disorder? So, and I'm gonna open this up so you all can see this. All right. So in the states of hyperfocus, a person may find themselves once again, fully engrossed in maybe in their job, in their work, whatever they're working on, fully engrossed in the hobbies that they're doing, fully engrossed in other activities. They're just fully engrossed in it. These are some of the symptoms of someone that's experiencing hyperfocus disorder. So somebody going through an episode of, and they call it episodes of hyperfocus, can sometimes lose interest without any explanation at all. So let's talk about problems and what it includes. Let's move this on. The problems of hyperfocus, and then what it entails with that. So problems with hyperfocus include lost time, lost hours and days and stuff like that. I don't know if you ever experienced being with somebody and for example, you asked a spouse or a significant other, or even maybe a teenager, asked them to go do an errand for you. Then they come back what seems like hours later. And then you're asking them, where have you been? What have you done? What did you do? You didn't even get what I asked you to get. What's going on? We've seen stuff like this on TV. What took you so long? And then you turn around and you don't even bring back home what I asked you to do, with the errand, or you didn't bring everything back. What took you so long? These are symptoms of someone that may be experiencing hyper focus disorder. Lost time, lost hours, and even some people lost days. So number 2 is lost productivity and work and home. So someone saying, okay, I'm gonna clean my garage out. On my off days, I'm off for an entire week of work, and I'm gonna take that time to clean this garage out. Well, a week go by, you've had your time off work, the week has gone by, and that garage is still looking the same way. That's lost productivity and lost work and lost home. That is symptoms of hyperfocus disorder. Having strained relationships and hurt feelings. And mostly it's the person whose feelings is hurt is the one who's experiencing the hyper-focus disorder, because of course they're going to feel like they're being attacked all of the time, rather than taking out some time to acknowledge and see, wait a minute, you know what, I'm seeing a bunch of, I'm doing the same things over and over and over again, and I'm starting to notice a pattern here where I'm not getting things done the way I want them, or the way I planned. And if you're in a relationship, and it doesn't have to be significant other. It could be a parent-child, cousins, aunties, siblings, friendships. Your relationships begin to get strained. And I know the first thing people want to say is, well, you have to accept people for who they are. Okay. Yes and no. Yes and no. If somebody has a series of toxic behaviors and they're not willing to acknowledge it and then put changes in place to become a better individual, no, you don't. No one has to accept that type of behavior into your personal space or anything like that. Very rarely do you see someone with extreme non-sociable or toxic type of characteristics. Very rarely do you see someone like that have a whole village of people around them, a whole tribe of people, so strained relationships and hurt feelings all go along with this. So now let's move on to, is hyperfocus a coping mechanism? Is it considered a coping mechanism? Let's move this along. All right, so studies show that for teens with depression, hyperfocus can be a coping mechanism for them. Someone with depression and hyperfixation, those are two different things, may hyperfocus on something that pulls their attention away from the despair or the pain that they're experiencing in their everyday life. Now, what I studied in school when I was in college for psychology, and then moving out of that and graduating, and then starting to do my own counsel sessions, what I have experienced and what I have, of course, dictated and noted and I've worked with people with tendencies of depression, and some of the symptoms that they may have displayed was daydreaming, just totally focusing on that daydream, just daydreaming, and that's what they're focused on. They can daydream for hours at a time. That using that as a coping mechanism, that is considered a form of hyperfocus disorder as well. But that was again brought on by depression. So is it a coping mechanism? Is it considered a coping mechanism? Yes, it is. Yes, especially with people that are experiencing depression, some trauma from depression and those type of things. Now, let's move this on. All right. So it says what to do when a person realizes that they are experiencing hyperfocus disorder, and then they feel like that they're stuck in this. And let me open this up so you all can see this. And tonight we're going to be moving really, really quickly. What are the negative? Oh, hold on. Oh, I moved too quickly. What are the negative effects of hyperfocus disorder? So if someone feels that they're experiencing hyperfocus disorder, and they start noticing it in their schoolwork, maybe their work performance at their job, their work performance is beginning to suffer, their relationships are becoming strained. It says, for example, you might start missing your meetings. You may start getting behind in your responsibilities because you are hyper-focused on the elements of the job that you enjoy. And see, once again, the hyper-focus, when people are hyper-focused on something, it's always on something that's enjoyable. It's never with something that's where you have to put some effort and some work into it, or something that they're always hyper-focused on something that's enjoyable. So the negative effects of experiencing hyperfocus disorder again is having negative work performance, maybe your relationship suffering. Again, you starting to notice that your friendships are dropping off. Different things like that. You getting fired off your jobs, failing in school if you're in school, failing. These type of things. These are the negative effects of hyperfocus disorder. Okay, so now let's move it along. So what do we do? What does a person do when they feel like they're stuck in this zone here? Let me open this so you can see this. Okay, so the biggest and most important things to do is to establish some external cues. Now, here are the strategies that someone can start to use and start incorporating in their lives if you may be experiencing depression and realize that you're starting to experience some of these hyper focus type of disorders. So external cues are the exact opposite of willpower. Okay, so or relying on yourself to break out of it. So your brain is then broken. So anybody that experienced trauma, your brain is considered to be broken at the time. So in this department, and if you can't, I'm sorry, let me move that. If you cannot expect a broken regulation system to work as if it weren't broken. So instead of trying harder to get out of it, let's try something differently. These strategies. Okay, so let's use some external cues to try to help you do things differently. If you find yourself kind of lacking in areas and you're spending more time daydreaming and focusing on the wrong things and different things like that, this happens. Let me open this up. And this can happen to everyone, to everybody at some point in their life. Let's open this up. I want you to see this. Number one, it says set an alarm. Thank God most of us have a cell phone. Most cell phones have alarms on them. I think all cell phones have alarms on them, not unless you have a dinosaur, an old school. And I think even them old school cell phones have an alarm on them. Set an alarm. So tell yourself, I can use alarms on my phone for this all of the time. Okay? Set alarms for yourself. Use a timer, which is an alarm. You can use a timer. They have the timers on your cell phones as well. So either on your phone, your computer, your microwave, or an old-fashioned kitchen timer. If you need an old school one to set it, you start using timers to help you. If you need 40 minutes to do a certain project or something at work or at school, set your timer. Set your timer. And if you are daydreaming and that timer goes off, then that's a cue. That's a cue to let you know, wow, I let 40 minutes go by doing something different than what I was supposed to be doing. At least it'll jog you. It'll get you back focused on what you need to do. Set your timer again. And then if you got to keep that thing right in front of you to remind you, I need to do this. I need to do this. Number 3, have some check-in on you at a predetermined length of time. Have somebody text you. Tell somebody to come into your room. Flash the lights of the have somebody flash the lights of the room on you to help jog you. Like, hey, that what's going on? Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Let's see the progress. Let's see how far you've gotten. Those type of things. I strongly encourage people to have accountability partners. They don't have to live with you. If you have a friend that can call, you have accountability partners. It helps. It does help. All right. Number 4 says to make sure that you take your ADHD medication if you are prescribed medicine. The medicine will help you shift focus more easily if you're experiencing hyperfocus disorder and you have ADHD. Number 5 says use natural breaks to remind you to change your focus. So at the end of a television show, or when the commercials come on, or a half hourly news break on the radio, these cues here can help remind you, ooh, I need to do this right now. Use these natural breaks, things that you do normally and naturally. All right. Number 6, give yourself space and time to actually hyper focus if you want to. Choose when to do it. Give yourself permission to do it. And that will sometimes help you switch focus when you have to at other times, because you know that you will be able to hyper focus later. So you can even use hyper focus as a reward for doing less interesting tasks. Now, I'm going to say this again. Most people that are experiencing hyperfocus disorder, they are strongly focusing on things that are pleasurable to them. And they avoid things that are not pleasurable, like responsibilities, like obligations, like these type of things like that. So I do like this last cue here. Number 6, where it says give yourself space and time to actually hyper focus, to do what you want to do. Use it as a reward system. But we all know life is not full of everything just good times. And life is full of you have to have balance. You have your good time, and then you also have to meet your obligations. You have to meet your responsibilities. And so this type of disorder, the hyper focus disorder, what it does, it really does take a lot of the focus off of responsibility and accountability and obligations. All right. So, do you sometimes hyper focus when you're procrastinating? Now, this is a question. Let me move this along. And this is something that I would like you to ask yourself. Hold on. Okay, let me go back, because I didn't move this along myself. I thought I did. Let's ask this question, and I'm going to open this up. Let's put this right here. I'm going to open this up a little bit wider. So the question is, do you sometimes hyper focus when you're procrastinating? Or do you know someone who's sometimes hyper focused when they're procrastinating? So if you ever find yourself in this situation, or you know someone that does this, that has showing these symptoms here, revisit the tips that I gave before here. There was 6 different tips. Revisit these tips, or use social media to keep yourself accountable. Excuse me. I'm sorry, this is wrong. So it says revisit the tips such as taking teeny tiny steps. Or it says, or use social media to keep yourself accountable. I don't know how you're going to do that, but okay. So if you're struggling to put these ideas into practice on your own, then here's some help. You might think about joining. There is an adult ADHD treatment group where they can help you break out of hyperfocus, and they can support. There's a support system, and they keep you accountable to your personal goals. And you can see it right there. This is why I have this open. You can go on here and register. It's called ADDA, ADDA, ADDA. And it's ADDA with a plus sign community. Go on there, Google it, ADDA, ADDA plus community. Join ADDA, join the group. It is a support group for those that are experiencing hyper focus disorder along with ADHD, and it breaks the different things down. And again, I'm a big advocate for support systems, for accountability partners. I learned things myself. I'm a degree psychologist, a degree counselor, but I don't know everything, every source that's out there. So when I'm doing my research on different topics and I'm learning about these different support groups and everything, it excites me because, yay, once again, yes, there is help out there for people who are experiencing different type of symptoms and maybe some different type of disorders. They have so many different type of groups and help communities that you can get with. You can support each other, encourage each other. You can be accountability partners with each other. So ADDA, ADDA with the plus sign community. You can join the group. If you know someone, or if you yourself are experiencing hyper focus disorder, and if you want to move past this and incorporate healthier type of strategies for you, so you can function, and you can function a lot better. You can become more sociable the way you choose to, and your life can be a lot happier and healthier, like you desire it to be. All right, so let's do the takeaway. Let me open this up a little bit, and then I'm going to see you all back on Thursday. The takeaway says, give yourself space and time to actually hyper focus if you want. Choose when to do it and give yourself permission to do it. Use it as a reward system, but don't use it as a way to not be responsible or accountable or anything like that. Only use it as a reward system. Now let's do our quote for tonight, and then I'm going to see y'all on Thursday night. Let me open this up a little bit. All right, the quote says that you don't have to control your thoughts. You just have to stop letting them control you. And that's by Dan Millman. I think I'm going to be using this quote here probably for the next couple of weeks, because this says it all right here. You don't have to have any type of disorder to learn from this quote right here. It says you don't have to control your thoughts. You just have to stop letting them control you. All righty then. Also, let me move this along. I love this here therapy website, betterhelp.com. Okay, so if you want a safe space, and let me close this up. If you want a safe space to speak with a licensed professional online counselor, BetterHelp offers affordable counseling sessions for individuals, couples, and family members. Okay, so and their website is 24 hours. All right, so let's move this on. If there is, let me open this up for my fellow counselors and fellow theorists. This is where I got my studies from. These are the website references. All righty then. Now, if there's a past Counsel of the Day with Shanrae series that you missed, or you just want to rewatch this series or any other ones, go to my YouTube channel at Shanrae Price. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Then select any past series that you would like to watch. They're all there under Counsel of the Day, Shanrae Price. All right, now I'm an advocate for BetterHelp, but I'm also a professional one-on-one counselor myself. I'm a degree counselor, like I said. If you're interested in professional one-on-one counseling services, feel free to contact me via my Facebook Messenger at Shanrae Owens, or via my email at shanrae.price@gmail.com. I am a lifestyle strategist, and my aim is to aid you in your life's goals and your life's dreams. All right. Well, listen, I will see you all. I will see you all on Thursday night, 9 p.m. for part 2 of the breakdown of Hyperfocus Disorder. This month, we're going to be breaking it down, and I have different subtopics for that. But I'm back on Tuesday and Thursday nights. So I'll see you Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for part 2 of Hyperfocus Disorder, the breakdown. I want to thank you for participating in Counsel of the Day with Shanrae, August 2023. This is my third quarter for the year. I have 4, and I'll see you Thursday. All right. Bye-bye.